My name is Christine. I'm sitting in my living room, looking at my phone that's been bombarded with 99 plus missed calls. The numbers are all too familiar: my mother, my father, and my younger sister, Lily. It's been a while since I last felt this kind of chaos, but now, it only brings a sense of calm and clarity. Let me take you back to the events that led to this moment. My family has always been a complex web of relationships, but it all started with my grandfather, Henry. He was a self-made man who built a successful tech startup from scratch in the early 80s. As the years went by, his company grew exponentially, and by the time he passed away 5 years ago, it had turned into a trust worth over $100 million. Grandfather Henry had always been perceptive. He saw something in me that he didn't see in the rest of my family. He knew I was the one who could manage this fortune wisely. So, he named me the sole trustee of the trust. My parents, especially my mother, were deeply resentful of this decision. My mother, Amelia, was a controlling woman with a short temper. She always thought she knew best and couldn't stand the fact that I was in charge of the family's financial future. My father, Robert, was more passive, but he also let my mother's opinions cloud his judgment. And then there was Lily. She was a free spirit who had never bothered to hold down a job after graduating from art school. Thanks to the trust, she could afford to live in a trendy apartment in the city center, drive a fancy car, and go on vacations whenever she pleased. I took on the role of trustee silently. I never asked for thanks from my family, only a bit of appreciation and respect. I approved monthly distributions for my parents, enough to cover their comfortable lifestyle, and I made sure Lily had everything she needed. For years, I kept the peace, hoping that one day, they would see me as more than just the person who signed the checks. Then came my birthday. It started like any other day. I woke up at 6:30, made myself a cup of coffee, and checked my phone. There were no birthday wishes, no calls, not even the automated reminder my mother used to set for me when I was a child. I tried to convince myself that it was still early and that everyone was busy. But deep down, a small part of me was disappointed. I went through my normal routine. I made breakfast, got dressed for work, and drove to the office. The date on the calendar meant nothing to me at that point, or so I tried to tell myself. When I got home that evening, I was exhausted. But there was still a tiny glimmer of hope in me that someone might have remembered. I sat on my couch, opened our family group chat, and typed a message I never thought I'd send. I told them how sad I felt that no one remembered my birthday, and that even a simple text would have meant the world to me. With a heavy heart, I hit send and placed my phone on the cushion beside me. I was half expecting to be ignored and half expecting an apology. What I got was something I never could have imagined. My mother replied within minutes. I stared at the screen, rereading her words over and over again because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She wrote, "We're better off without you. Don't contact us again." 11 cold words that felt like a knife through my heart. I sat there, frozen, holding the phone, waiting for a follow-up that would soften the blow, something that would tell me it was a mistake. But it never came. And then I saw the notification under her message. Lily had liked it. The sister who I had supported financially and emotionally, the one who I had paid for art supplies and studio space, had essentially endorsed our mother's cruel words. For a while, I just sat there, immobilized. Those few minutes felt like an eternity. At first, I cried. I sobbed uncontrollably for about 15 minutes, letting out all the pent-up emotions of years. But then, something shifted in me. It wasn't anger or rage. It was a newfound clarity. I started thinking about all the times I had approved distributions without question, all the fake emergencies I had covered, and all the birthdays and holidays I had attended, while secretly hoping someone would do the same for me. I realized that I had spent years protecting a fortune for people who, at the first sign of me asking for a bit of love and warmth, had turned their backs on me. So, I did the only thing that felt right. I opened my laptop, logged into the trust portal I had managed since my grandfather's passing, and one by one, I blocked my mother, father, and Lily's numbers. Then I went into the account settings and froze every active distribution tied to their names. The fortune that had allowed them to live without working a day in their lives was now out of their reach. My hands were steady as I did it, much steadier than I thought they would be. I didn't feel guilty. Instead, I felt a sense of liberation. It was as if I was finally closing a door that should have been shut a long time ago. I went to bed that night without a single notification waiting for me, and for the first time in years, the silence was a comfort, not a source of pain. The next morning, I was woken up by the buzzing of my phone. I sat up in bed and stared at the 99+ missed calls in disbelief. My phone had been vibrating all night long, but I had slept through it, having the most peaceful sleep in months. When I finally unlocked the screen, I saw that the calls were from my mother, father, and Lily. They had been calling non-stop, some minutes having 3 calls in a row, as if they were desperately trying to break down a door that I had firmly closed. Underneath the calls were multiple voicemails and a string of texts. Some of the texts were from numbers I didn't recognize until I realized Lily had borrowed a friend's phone to reach me. I made myself a cup of coffee before I started listening to the voicemails. I needed to be calm, not reactive. The first voicemail was from my mother. Her voice was tight and panicked, saying that there was a mistake with her bank account and asking me to call her back immediately. The second was from my father, his tone angry and demanding, asking why the trust transfer hadn't gone through for their monthly expenses. As I listened to more and more voicemails, the panic in their voices became unbearable. By the 8th voicemail, my mother's composure had completely shattered. She was sobbing, saying she didn't understand how this could be happening to them. That's when it hit me. They weren't calling to apologize, they weren't calling because they felt sorry for what they said on my birthday. They were calling because the money had stopped, and for the first time in their adult lives, they had no idea how to survive without it. It was confirmation of what I had suspected for a long time, that the so-called love they had for me was tied to the financial support I provided. I didn't call any of them back that day. Instead, I drove to my grandfather's old attorney, a wise and calm man named Mr. Thompson. I sat across from his desk and told him everything, from the birthday text to my mother's heartless reply and Lily's despicable like. Mr. Thompson listened intently without interruption. Then he told me something I hadn't fully considered. As the trustee, I had every legal right to restructure the distributions of the trust as I saw fit. I could redirect the funds towards causes that truly mattered, instead of continuing to support a family that had shown their true colors. Over the next week, my parents and Lily tried everything to get me to reverse the decision. They showed up at my office unannounced. My father was so angry that the security guards had to ask him to leave twice. Lily sent long, tear-filled messages through our distant aunt, saying that she didn't mean to like the comment, that she was distracted. Maybe it was true, but it didn't change the years of ungratefulness and neglect. My mother eventually wrote me a handwritten letter. In it, she apologized in a way she had never done before. She admitted that her resentment towards my independence had clouded her judgment and that the birthday text was just an excuse for her to say things she had been holding in for years. I read the letter twice, but then I put it in a drawer. An apology that only comes after the money is gone isn't a real apology, it's a negotiation. In the end, I made my decision and didn't waver. I permanently restructured the trust. I kept a portion of it secure for my grandfather's original intention of building something lasting. A significant share was redirected towards a scholarship program in his name. It would help students who, like me at one point, had no one to support them but were determined to build a better life. My parents and Lily were left to fend for themselves for the first time in their adult lives. It sounds harsh, but I have never once regretted my decision. I still live my life to the fullest. I work, I laugh, and I celebrate my birthdays. Just without the people who taught me that love can be conditional. Some nights, I still think about that message my mother sent me. We're better off without you. Don't contact us again. For a long time, those words were awound. But now, I see them in a different light. She was right, just not in the way she intended. I am better off. I found peace in the very silence that was supposed to break me, and I would choose this path again without hesitation. If this story has touched you in any way, if you've ever had to choose yourself over those who were supposed to love you unconditionally, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button before you leave. There are many more real stories about family, betrayal, and the strength it takes to move on waiting for you. Subscribe now, and you won't want to miss what comes next.